Vanessa, Bettina, come on. Say what? Come on. Say what? We got bam, hot topics. We got what the fudge. So bring it on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? You got questions. We got the answers. You wanna chit? You wanna chat? You wanna talk about this and talk about that? You're in the right place to hear the facts. Bring it on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? The ladies are bringing the conversation. So join us on Say What across the nation. Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on.
Say what? Y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? Miss Sonia, Miss Bettina, and everybody listening to this show. We are so happy to have you with us today, this beautiful Saturday. That this will be the last time I'm probably able to wear this short sleeve shirt, but whatever. I'm enjoying every bit of it. Ladies, how you doing?
Hello, how you doing?
I am fab-o. Miss Vanessa, how you?
Like you said, I'm enjoying this beautiful weather. I'm gonna sit outside today and just bask in all its glory. It's beautiful.
Y'all know it's warm. Anytime Boston is at 71 degrees last night while I'm watching them Celtics play, I was like, where y'all jackets at? Ain't nobody got a jacket. It was warm, 71. So we are enjoying every bit of this before we get the cold air that's going to come through here. But nonetheless, we are grateful to God. And y'all know we cannot go another further without the word of God. We got the bishop who is with us today. Miss Sonia, what is it that thus saith the Lord?
Well, he's saying a lot today, and Talisa's going to read the passage for me, and then I will elaborate.
So, no, you got to do it like the old church. Scripture, read. Read. So we are reading Romans 38, chapter 8, verses 37 through 39 in the Passion Version. And it says, yet in the midst of all these things, we triumph over them all. For God has made us to be more than conquerors. And he has demonstrated love is our glorious victory over everything. So now I live with the confidence that there is nothing in the universe with the power to separate us from God's love. I'm convinced that his love will triumph over death, life's troubles, fallen angels, or dark rulers in the heavens. There is nothing in this present or our future circumstances that can weaken his love. Verse 39, there is no love above us or beneath us, no power that could ever be in the universe that can distance us from God's passionate love, which is lavished upon us through our Lord Jesus Christ, the Anointed One.
How comforting that is, or how comforting it should be to us. What a beautiful, beautiful promise to us. Thank you, Jesus. And as Paul wrote in Romans, there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God. Just be reminded that in your daily lives, that we can find strength and comfort in knowing that God loves us and his love is unwavering and unchanging. He is faithful. He is a God who does not lie. We can trust in his love and rely on it in times of trouble and uncertainty. No matter what you're going through in this season in your life, just know that you're not going through it alone and that you will get through it because that's greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. There is nothing that you can encounter, nothing that you can endure, nothing that you can experience that you cannot overcome through Christ. I encourage you to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness and know that all things will be added unto you. All things in difficult times, good times, bad times, anytime. All things because God again does not lie. I encourage you to stand on his promises. I mean, when this word says nothing Absolutely nothing. He wants you to seek him for guidance. He wants you to seek him for direction in your lives. Sometimes we feel like our back is up against the wall and we don't know which way to turn. But if you just look up and cry out to Jesus, you will get the answers that you need. Know that his love, there is nothing that can separate you from his love. No lie that anybody has ever told you that you're not good enough or that you're not this or you're not that or you've done this or you've done that cannot separate you from the love of God. Amen.
That's amazing word. That's amazing word.
Yes,
Miss
it
Vanessa,
is.
what do you think about that scripture?
I just think that's one of the most comforting scriptures in the Bible. There are several, but that one just lets you know that there's nothing you could do, say nothing that will separate you from his love. That's a love that you won't find here on earth. That's not a there's not a love here on earth like that one, like his love. Nothing. And as Sonia was as you were reading it, I was just thinking, man, wouldn't it be amazing if you could find that love physically, from another human here on earth. And it's just comforting in knowing that it's out there. You won't find it, within another individual, but it is out there and it does exist. And the way for us to do that is just to stay connected with him and allow him to show us just how much he loves us. It's just so comforting. I love that scripture.
Absolutely. And sometimes I think, and Sonia, I'm just going to ask this question. I'm going to go against the grain, which is something I normally don't do. Sometimes people struggle with feeling that love. What would be your advice to them to say how to be able to feel that love?
The only way to experience that love is through the Spirit of God. You have to surrender over to him. Love, people associate love with a feeling. It's not a feeling. Love is an action. God is love. And so the only way you can experience true love is to be in right standing and in a relationship with God. That's the only way. If God is not in your life, then you are searching for something and looking for something that you will never find because it's in him first and foremost. And when Vanessa mentioned, wouldn't it be nice if you could find that kind of love in someone? I feel that someone, the person who is surrendered to Christ, you can experience it. You can experience Christ through them. Therefore, you can experience that love. But that's talking about, when I say total surrenderance, that a life sold out to the Lord. And that is hard to find. It is hard to find. But there are people out there that demonstrate that agape, godly type of love, that it comes from a sincere place.
Absolutely. And when you experience that love, it could be something as simple as waking up in the morning and seeing how beautiful it is
Oh, yes.
outside. Yeah, it's
Yes.
just it's just something about the morning. And for me, I was taught to appreciate the morning. My mama would get me up at 5 and 6 in the morning and say, "Let's clean the house." I'm like, "Why can't we wait until later?" I don't understand. There'll be more dirt at 11, and she was like, "No, we getting up." But what it did was it gave me an appreciation for the morning and the coolness of it, the quietness of it, and you really get to see God's magnificence first thing in the morning. So that is a beautiful thing to see.
You know what, Talisa? I want to add to that because I am a morning person. And if you want to see God's beautiful creation, it's late at night and early in the morning. Oh my goodness, when you look at the sun, when it's
Sunrise.
rising high, it makes the sky look like fire. Woo!
Sunrise.
Yes,
I
Yes.
mean, my
yes.
sister would call me. She would pull over and take a picture. Those of
Mhm.
you who don't usually get up before 8 or 9 o'clock, I encourage you to get up one morning in the dawn of the day and just experience the beautiful sunrise because, oh my goodness, it is so amazing.
It
And
is, and that
you
is.
all know that I
Go ahead,
I am
Vanessa.
I am extremely fond of beautiful sunrises and sunsets. I'll get up
Mhm.
at 4 in the morning if I have to catch a sunrise, and then I'll sit and wait for it to go down. So my camera, my phone is filled with pictures of sunrises and sunsets. Everywhere I go, I'm trying to catch the sunrise, sunsets. Even driving down the street, I'm like your sister Sonia. I will pull over, or if Mark just driving, I'll roll the window down, and I will try to catch the. I just love it. I just love how God just blesses us with His beauty. I call it His artwork because it's
Yes.
Yes.
so
Yes.
beautiful. It's so
And
beautiful.
and that is how you get a chance to experience God's love, to allow you to see and experience that. And what makes it great at night, and I'm a morning person, I'm not at night person, but it's before anybody touches it. Before you get out into anything, it is untouchable. It is beautiful to experience, and the joy that you have internally that says, "Wow, this is just great." Those are the things that allow you to feel God's love. So for those that are not sure, surrender your life to Him, but just get a chance to experience that. So thank you, Sonia, for that word. That is absolutely wonderful. If you
Absolutely.
want to find the kitchen table, the kitchen table. If you want to find the say what ladies, find them out watching a sunset or a sunrise, because
Yes.
that's where you'll find us. That's where you'll find us. So Miss Vanessa, what is going on or what's not going on in the Word?
Talisa, I just got to say, you went way back there for a
I
minute.
did. I did. Because we've been doing it that long. We that deep in it. We got a history.
Yeah, that was funny. Um, so what's going? I told you we're going to change this segment. We're going to change it to what's not going on in the world because
What's not? Yeah. Yeah.
everything seems to be happening. It's like everything. Somebody flipped the switch and everything went haywire. It's just getting crazier by the minute. The Lewiston, you've heard about the main shooter. The man went in and shot, killed 18 people and 13 wounded. Well, the Lewiston main shooting rampage suspect was found dead Friday night. Police said about 48 hours after the attack that left 18 dead and 13 wounded. Officials confirmed that Robert Card died from an apparent self inflicted gunshot wound. Law enforcement had been conducting an intensive manhunt card following the Wednesday evening shootings at a bowling alley and a restaurant in Lewiston. It said this was the deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. this year and the deadliest since the Uvalde school massacre. At least 566 mass shootings have happened this year across the country, according to the Gun Violence Archive. Now that just speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. And I was watching the news and they said that the governor there had changed his stance on how he felt about um, high-powered rifles. So he's reversing his decision on that. I was trying to find that particular article, but I just when will enough be enough? When will it be enough? When will this end? What is it going to take for us to finally put some sort of regulations across the board on guns, on gun, on updating gun control? What is it going to take? The
So to your
whole
point, they are saying that the sales for guns have skyrocketed since the shooting. And people are out purchasing and things of that nature. But I want to speak to the legislator for that state. I struggle. I struggle with the fact that you have to experience it for it to be true. When the pandemic was going on, I was just literally trying to pull my hair out because what was being said was, well, that's not doing it. And then as soon as you lose somebody, now it's for real. It's not a point when you lose someone because what a lot of states, particularly the one that we're in, Georgia, um, professors, we never shut down. We kept open. But how many people did you lose? How many grandmamas had to pass? How many family members had to pass that we don't speak to? We just only speak to the point of, the state was open. People losing their relatives. And now here we are with this shooting again. Now it's your state, and now you want to pay attention. I struggle with that. I struggle with the fact that we are not empathetic towards other people. And that's just my take on it. Sonia, what do you think?
I agree. And the last statement you just made me think about what I've been hearing people say, even about the war and what's going on in Israel. And They feel like, why should the United States help because it's not affecting us, but it does. And so until it's unfortunate that until it hits close to home, it's not your problem, it's their problem. And as long as it's not in your neighborhood, it's not your problem, it's their problem. But no, it's a problem. It's a problem for us all. And the other thing I wanted to add is that when you guys, Vanessa said, when is it going to stop? Unfortunately, it's not going to stop if the heart of the people don't change. And as believers, we have a responsibility to be putting the word of God out there. When I say not waiting until something happens, but being that mouthpiece that He's asked us to be for Him, continuing to speak and pray against things in situations like this instead of a lot of times you're not hearing much from the believers. Things are happening, but then when certain things happen, a catastrophe or something of that nature, this big thing happens, then everybody, you hear about prayer all over social media and places. Why can't we hear that every day? Why can't we bombard social media every day discussing prayer? How important it is to turn your heart to Jesus. How important it is to surrender your life over to Christ, and the outcome of what can happen when you do that. And so I just think that we need to be louder. We need to be, as believers, we need to be louder because it's God who does the work in and through us, but we're not doing our part.
And Talisa said that the gun sales have increased since the shootings, but everybody's carrying guns, but nobody has a gun when they need one.
That's true.
There's nobody. I mean, so what? So what? That they increase. So what? I mean, what are they increasing for? So that more crimes like these can be committed. I mean, when a person is committed this type of crime, nobody has a gun to defend or stop it. What's the point?
Well, the point, to your point, to add to that is, people are purchasing things, but like you said, what happens typically, mental health wise, that I can speak to is when you're in a crisis, you can't think straight. Your emotions take over, and all that adrenaline runs, and you're kind of doing whatever. So, to your point, you don't even have that on your person, let alone know what to do with it. And you're involved in this situation. So again, most times you see people, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, most time you see people when there is an urgency, someone screams, call 911.
Of course, that's the
That's
first
that's the
thing.
first thing we scream. We don't scream, where's my gun?
Right.
That's right.
Now, on very few occasions, there have been people who have been armed and have been able to retaliate and maybe stop a bad situation from becoming even worse. But those situations are very few, and it just makes you wonder. Okay, everybody's buying a gun. What's the point if you're not actually using them for good? If they're not there to, they're not available when you really really need them. So I don't know. It's to Sonia's point. Till we turn our hearts towards God and really allow Him to take control of what's happening, it's not going to change.
because because guns are not the answer.
They're
No,
not.
they aren't.
They are not
They're
the
not.
answer. Even from the other side of defending yourself, guns are not the answer.
They're not at all.
You can't do that. And again, even if they had access to things, and I believe I saw recently this week, President Reagan, who was all about making sure we had guns. He was like, all these automatic weapons are not necessary. But this is what this gentleman did. And just to give some insight again from the mental health side, the fact that he didn't have a mask on, the fact that he didn't want to hide his face, most time reveals his desire for being caught, his desire for suicide being front of mind. Because a lot of times when suicide happens, in this case, they're usually trying to have some sort of notoriety. So when I was living in Philadelphia at the time, someone unfortunately would jump in front of the train during rush hour because now I'm going to get the headlines that will give me what I want. So I know that it's a crazy way of thinking, but it does exist. So for this situation and catching his face, because he knows that cameras were everywhere. There was no mask. There was nothing. So it was a way of trying to, this is my last hurrah type thing.
And also too, he's ex-military, so
Yes.
there could have also been some, some other issues, maybe PTSD or something. I don't know, but there could have been some deeper mental issues there as well. So,
Yeah.
um,
He had been admitted to a hospital weeks before that.
exactly. And they
Yeah.
said that the law, there's I don't know what the database is that prevents people with mental health issues from um, having guns. That failed him because he should have never had a gun outside of, once he left the military.
That state does not have the red flag law in that
I
state.
think that's what it was, the
Yes,
red
in
flag
that
law.
state. So
Yeah.
again, it brings to light that we don't have certain things in place because this is what we believed. And now you hear the legislator there say, now I'm convinced. But this is why I say, again, why does it take your state for it to happen for you to be convinced? And what typically happens is we're saying, well, they got a lot of crime there, so that's why they got all that going on. When again, it comes back to being empathetic. You're not
Right.
empathetic about anyone else. You are thinking only about yourself, and that needs to stop. So, to Sonia's point, we need to pray about that as well.
Well, I'm gonna get on a funny subject. I wanted to get you ladies' thoughts on this. There's a list that's been going around social media. It's a list of places women absolutely refuse to go on a first date, and it says thank you to the ladies who. Okay, so it's a list of places that women refuse to go on a first date. Now I want to read the list quickly and then get your thoughts on it because I know my thoughts, but I'll read the list and get your thoughts. So, Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, and this is in order. So, number one all the way down to 28. So, these are the orders: Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, Chipotle, Chili's, Olive Garden, the movies, your house, any fast food chain, Buffalo Wild Wings, Wingstop, Red Lobster, a buffet, IHOP, Denny's, the gym, church, Starbucks, coffee dates, ice cream dates, family functions, movie nights, which includes Netflix, Hulu, and all of the above, somewhere that requires a long drive, bowling, nightclubs, hookah bars, a bar for just drinks, Waffle House, and sporting events. So they refuse to go to any of those on the first date. So to me, they just want to stay home. They don't want to go on the first date. They want to stay right at the house by themselves. I'll let you ladies speak. What are your thoughts on this crazy, what I consider crazy list?
Well, I tell
Sonia,
you,
you go first, Sonia.
it's been a long time since I went on a first date. However, some of the ones that you listed at the beginning, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not even opposed to meeting at a fast food place and having a Coke or something, even if I don't eat the food. It's a first date.
A coffee
We're
date?
introducing
Yes.
each other, we're getting
Yes.
to know each other. And to be honest with you, places like that, like you said, for coffee are safe because if I'm not feeling you, we only there for 30 minutes to an hour in deuces. But if you there for dinner or something like that, I have to sit and listen to you for 2 hours and know that I never want to see or talk to you again. I would rather the first date be someplace in the park and casual, definitely public and where there are people around. But no, I just think this is ridiculous. And when I'm not gonna go, I'm not gonna go there because I can buy my own dinner, you know.
Right.
And
Sonia, I mean, Talisa,
mm,
So, the two old married women on here, the single one is going to speak now. Okay?
please, please, please.
She's going to speak now, okay? I'm not coming to your house.
nope,
I'm not.
that's not happening.
It's not safe. I'm not doing it. And first impressions are everything. Now, I'm not saying I'm not, to me, it was a little snobbish when people were kind of saying where they wouldn't go or whatever. But you're making an impression. And if we sit out, I'm going to bring my Philadelphia days back. If we sit out on the shorefront on Delaware River and we're having a hot dog and we're talking, that's cool. I'm not coming to your house. Okay?
What about the rest
And
of the list? What about the rest of the list?
I got a problem with Red Lobster. I do have a problem. I'm sorry. So you're not taking me to Red Lobster, and we're not
Cheesecake
going to the
Factory.
Waffle House.
Cheesecake Factory.
Cheesecake Factory's fine. I can do
Chili's.
Cheesecake
Let
Factory.
me, I gotta pull this out of you. Chili's.
Eh, like
Uh,
Sonya said, I go have a drink or something. I'm not eating anything out of Chili's. I'm just not feeling that. But
Starbucks.
hold on. This is in the day of now technology being part of it, and we're talking about meeting online. If somebody met online and we're meeting in a public place, I might entertain something like that. I may not eat there,
Starbucks.
but Starbucks is cool.
Hmm.
Starbucks is cool. We're not meeting at Mickey D's. This is not 1973.
Okay.
Okay. This is 2023. So it's
Bowling.
bowling. I might do bowling. But remember, we're talking first impressions
I'm
Exactly.
saying
And
first
first
date.
date.
and first date. So if we're doing this and we're just trying to be someplace social and that's talked about before we get there, fine. But I am looking to see whom you are.
So can you do that over dinner?
We can. I'm just
Just
not going to the Red Lobster. I ain't
It's
going.
not Red Lobster or the fast foods. Okay.
I ain't going. I ain't going. I don't want to go. Mm-mm.
All right.
Mm-mm.
Have and
Mm-mm.
for some of these women, that could be a test. Like a guy just trying to feel you out to
Yes,
see,
ma'am.
oh, are you all booty bougie bougie? I'm
Right.
beyond
You
this.
could be needy, and I don't want to deal with you. But again, it's a first impression, so that's what I'm bringing to the conversation.
But my
Because
thing is
I,
this
I,
too.
I've been on coffee dates. I haven't been on ice cream because me and ice cream, I love it, but we got that love hate relationship anyway. Um, I was looking at this list. Heck, I'm not opposed to the Cheesecake Factory because I love all these restaurants. So if I like it, I'm, I've always felt like I was low key anyway. I'm not that, like you said, I can buy my own, I can do my own. So I wasn't looking for what, you could buy me or give me. It's whether or not I liked you. For me, I came from a totally different perspective. I had to like you. I don't care what you can buy me. You can have all the money in the world, you can buy me whatever, but if I don't like you, if you're a jerk, if I find out you're a jerk because you have money, it's like I am not impressed. You could take me to an expensive restaurant, but if you're a jerk, you're just a jerk, and I need to know if you're a jerk.
A jerk with
So,
money.
in a good way for me, because I've been on numerous coffee dates, and I'll finish with this. But I've been on numerous coffee dates, and to me, those were my favorite because it's you, that person, and coffee or whatever it is you're
But
drinking.
coffee is cute.
But,
Coffee
but
is
it
cute.
allows you it allows you to have conversation
When
because you
but
can't.
I want to add to this. If you walking up to me and you saying, "Girl, I ought to take you to Red Lobster," see,
Well, first
now we
off,
got a
why would
problem.
you
Now we
say
got a
you
problem.
take me to Red Lobster? Don't even take Red.
Girl, don't make me take you to Red Lobster. And I've heard that. That's why I'm laughing about it. Okay, and I'm like, "Are you serious? You're serious, right?" And he's smiling like, and he picking his teeth. I'm a girl. I bet that. No, no.
But you know what? Being a mother of sons, if my son came home and told me that he asked the lady out and she said that Cheesecake Factory was not good enough for her, I would tell him run for the
Keep
hills.
Yes,
moving. Keep
yes.
moving.
I would tell my son to run for the hills because that's not what it's about.
Right.
And they know how to treat people and everything, but for you to sit and snob where he may want to take you, that's not cool at all. I just think
Yeah.
that is so snobbish and so wrong and so selfish. I just because it's not about getting to know someone. It's not about at that point what they can do for you. You're just still trying to figure out if this somebody that you even want to have a conversation with
Exactly.
Absolutely, but
at
I
this
think
point.
again it's how it's presented. Like
Oh,
I said, I was
absolutely. I
joking when I
agree.
was saying mine, but I have actually experienced that. If somebody told me that, it's out of the question. But if we say that we just want to meet and I'm getting to know you, because like I said, you have to invoke. This is a technology era now, so people are they've been talking online, kind of whatever. That's different. If I'm not trying to be snobbish with that, but if you want to throw it in my face and be like, no, no, we are not
And then
doing
real quick,
that.
I just want to add this really quickly. And if you are someone who is on the snobby side and wants him to treat you and wine you and dine you at the finest of the finest, you need to know whether or not he can or not. If you need to know, okay, is this all he can afford? Because he's asking me to go to the Cheesecake Factory. Is that all he can afford? And if you want more, then you won't waste each other's time.
That's
So
true.
again, you getting to know that person. Can he afford, taking me to the finest steakhouse in the state? Or can he afford, Red Lobster or whatever. I don't eat steak, so I can't even readily tell you a quick steakhouse. But you need to know that. And again, the first date, it's all about getting to know that person.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'm going to say about this is data. Data tells me either proceed or cease and desist. Okay? So,
Yep.
again, it's how it's presented if we're
Yep.
talking like that. And, cute little things like coffees, and we having drinks, something like that, that's cool. But it's all how it's presented. But again, it's all data. All the data says is proceed or cease and desist.
I just take it that there's a lot of women that just wants to stay at home. That's me. To sum it up, that's my summary. They just want to stay home alone.
Mm-hmm.
Alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Miss Vanessa,
Yes,
talk about
ma'am.
our guest today.
Yes, yes, yes. Let me bring her in so she can hear this wonderful
Hi.
introduction. Ladies, so in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we have Miss Lakeisha Wood as our special guest today. Hi, Lakeisha. Miss Wood
Hi.
has been in the field of radiology for 22 years. She has been a mammographer for 21 of those years. Just recently, she has added mammography instructor to her repertoire. Lakeisha has always had a passion for healthcare, especially women's health. In her spare time, she enjoys traveling, reading, shopping, DIY crafts, and relaxing in her love sack. She resides in Paulding County. Ladies, please, please, please help me welcome our wonderful guest today, Miss Lakeisha Woods. Welcome, 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 and thanks for joining our show today.
Thank you all for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I will start off first by saying we've never had a mammographer on our show in honor of breast cancer. All of the shows we've done, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we've never, ever, ever had a mammographer on our show. So it's a blessing to have you from a different perspective. And as you and I talked earlier, I was telling you that. Um, I laughed. I was joking with a friend of mine on my last mammogram I had that
Mhm.
I actually pay. I actually pay to get assaulted. I felt like I paid the mammographer to assault me at my last mammogram because I was so sore and it was so painful. But we'll get into that later. We'll get into the specifics of that later. So for our audience out there, what I wanted to ask you, my first question is, tell us what was your inspiration actually on wanting to become a mammographer and, actually perform the mammogram?
Oh, so for me, I get asked that question a lot by patients. I started out just being in radiology, just doing regular X-ray, but then I decided wanted to just go into women's health just because I have a passion for women's health. A lot of times people have stories about they had a family member that had breast cancer and things like that. But for me, it was just I just had a passion just to be in women's health, just to be able to because when we're in the room with our patients, um, it's like we're their counselor for that moment of time that we have them. So, in my years of doing this, I've heard a lot of stories. I've even been able to pray with patients. So, um, I just wanted to be there just because I have a heart, for women and just for their health.
So for what's some of the main questions you get asked, um, for women who, when they're coming in, they might have they might have some concerns going in, or is there a main question that you're normally asked either before, during, or after performing the mammogram?
Well, the main question is, do you play with breast all day? That is the number one question. It's just like, no, that's not how I think of it. That's not what we do. But no, a lot of patients, their concern is, how often should I have this done?
Hmm.
Do I have to do this every year? because there's been so many different articles and things that have come out, and it can be confusing for people. But I encourage, and all of us that are mammographers encourage patients to come every year at 40. For some women, they may have to come earlier than that, depending on their family history of breast cancer. And I'll tell patients, to go to the American Cancer Society. Now, on their page, they list several different recommendations depending on what's good for you. But at the end of the day, we encourage them to come every year.
Good.
That's great info. I think that is good to know because some people just don't know when they should. But to your point that people ask you all the time, playing with breasts all day, so it don't bother you, Lakeisha.
No, I just don't. I don't even think about it. I've been doing it for so long. I don't even think about it.
I'd be looking, okay, what's wrong with hers and this and that going on. That's me. I'm a little crazy, so
Yeah,
I understand. But looking at different breasts all the time, it don't bother you.
they're all different. Everybody is different. And
Oh my God.
if I see something that looks a little strange, I sometimes my facial expressions speak for me, but I'm very good at just keeping a just blank face, poker face.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. So one of the questions I have is I know that um, mammograms are being pushed all the time. Okay, now on in media and all of that, which is good because it helps us recognize we need to do our exams, we need to do the things going on, to make sure that we know what's going on in our body and not being surprised. But one of the things that I think people have problems with is really learning to take care of themselves. Do you feel like the message of having annual mammograms is effective? Do you feel like people are really grabbing onto that? What are your thoughts?
From my perspective, I feel like they are, but there are still some women out there that are just hesitant, or they just point blank say no. I have girlfriends that just point blank say no. I'm not going to have a mammogram. They do all the other preventative care, but for whatever reason, they don't want to do the mammogram. I think a lot of it comes from just different misconceptions, different myths that are out there that are not true. But having a mammogram, you have a mammogram every year, you have a pap smear, you do your colonoscopy, all of that is preventative care. But for whatever reason, you still have those women that are just dead set against a mammogram. Are
So
they going to?
a lot of that comes from family dynamics, just what you were taught in your family.
Hmm.
Nothing's wrong with it, leave it alone. Why are you messing with that and things of that nature. So it's interesting how that's still being fought, so to
Hmm.
speak, because some women weren't taught that that was important. And if it's nothing wrong with it,
Right.
then you're good. So it's just interesting to
Hmm.
still hear that going on.
So what do you say to those friends, your friends? You're a mammographer, and you have friends who don't want to get the mammogram. Is there any type of response you have to them? Do you try to encourage them, or you
I
just
do, but sometimes it's just like, you know what? Okay, it's your body. But
Exactly.
I mean, I have shared stories about different patients that I've encountered that, have been, I'm 47. So even before then, I've encountered patients that were in their early 30s or, close to 40, or even in, mid age, had never had a mammogram and they come for their first one and they have a lump or and ends up being cancer. Or they've had this lump, but they've ignored it for months and months or years, thinking it's just going to go away. So I try to share those stories with them, you know, in order to encourage them to do it. But for some people, they can just be hard headed.
yeah.
But,
I have a
but preference.
question. Are there any specific recommendations for women with dense breast tissue? Because I hear about this a lot.
So when it comes to dense breast tissue, so as a woman, we're either going to have dense breast tissue, fatty breast tissue, or a mixture of both. So now, like every time that you have a mammogram, And in your layman's term letter that you get, or even if you can see your report, your medical report, it lists your breast density. So for some women, they may see dense breast tissue on their letter, or they may see fatty, or they may see fibrogland. Those are all just different types of breast tissue. Um, so you have dense, fatty, or a mixture of both, you should come every year. Now, for some women who have dense breast tissue, it can be recommended that they have an MRI or have an ultrasound, but all of that just really depends on your personal family history.
So, can you explain what dense means when they say you have dense breast tissues?
So basically, how I explain it to patients is like if you have a black piece of paper and you put white dots on that piece of paper, that's what your breast looks like. So you can't, denser breast tissue is just harder to penetrate and
Okay.
harder to see. But with the different technologies that we have now, like you may have heard of 3D mammogram
Hmm.
or tomosynthesis. 3D has been just wonderful for the field of mammography because it helps the radiologist to be able to see the breast tissue in layers because it's cutting through those denser portions of breast tissue. It allows them to be able to see anything that could be hidden behind the dense breast tissue.
So with
And
that
does
being
it?
said, excuse me,
Go
Vanessa, with
ahead.
that
No,
being
go ahead.
said, why don't they use the 3D rather than the current um, way they do it with the
The regular.
smashing? Why not use
So,
3D for
okay, so
our
let me explain. I can explain that. So, a lot of patients think that 3D is something totally separate from a mammogram. Like they're getting
okay.
ready to come into the room and we're going to go through a circle or something's going to spin around. But it's not. It's still the same machine. We still compress your breast. The difference is it's just the function of the machine, a button that we push, and that
Okay.
allows the machine to take a 3D image. So, like if you had a book, you're looking at a book, the front and back of your book, that's your 2D image. When you open that book up, that's your 3D image.
Hmm.
So,
You
Lakeisha,
still,
to that point, Lakeisha,
mhm.
it's a man that created this machine, right? Because ain't no way a woman
I
created
never
something that you are smashing and compressing and all of that.
I get that question a lot. It was a man who invented, mammography, but along the way, there has been, women who have put their input in.
No,
I
no,
think
Lakeisha,
sometimes
don't try to minimize that, Lakeisha. Don't do it. No, a
because
man created this machine. You could tell because there is no way you see them smashing any bit of their private areas. You could tell a man created this.
it was a man. Men can get
Yeah.
I,
mammograms too. It's not, but they can get them.
like I said, Lakeisha, I know that you're trying to cover because this is your field, but I'm just saying it's inevitable. A man created this because they get upset if you put anything near their private area. They're like, no, we're not doing that. But they're gonna create something that's. And even when you use the depiction of a book, Lakeisha, I got nervous because I thought you was gonna slam the book shut because
Well,
that's just how it feels.
I I have another question, kind of related to what Sonia was asking on the dense tissue. Is there a specific size of breast that's more dense than others, or is across the board? Like,
Not
are you more dense the smaller you are versus the larger?
so just from my experience, because I don't know the percentage of how that would be, but
Hmm.
you can have large breasts and your breast still be dense. A
Okay.
lot of times, if you like Asian women,
Hmm.
sometimes their breasts we see more denser breast tissue with them.
Hmm.
Just and I don't know why, but just in my experience, that's what we've seen. But it doesn't really matter which size because you're gonna. It just depends on the woman.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering because as I was telling you earlier, it's like they start from my clavicle because of the density. They start from up
Yes,
here
and
and just
and sometimes if you've lost weight too, because we ask patients,
That's what I was
have you
gonna
lost
ask.
more than 10 pounds since your last mammogram? That can affect your breast tissue density.
oh,
Losing a
Will
lot of
it
weight.
will it make it thicker if you lose weight?
it can make your breast dense. Like
Really?
my like my mammogram that I had last year, before that mammogram, I had lost weight. I had lost 20 pounds. Of course, that's probably came back by now, but I had lost 20 pounds. So the radiologist dictated in my report that there were some denser areas in my breast due to weight loss.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and see, that's what my question was because I was asking about losing weight because when you lose weight, they said that's a lot of fatty tissue that's in your breast that kind of goes down. So to hear that it still could be dense is interesting.
Yeah, and it's different for everyone because some people when they lose weight, they don't lose. It doesn't affect their breast, but for others it can.
Okay, so I do have a question about because
Mhm.
men can get breast cancer as well, correct?
Yes.
So knowing that they're not as full as women up top, do they get smashing too?
Yes, we perform the mammogram the exact same way, and I always tell people it's just like doing a woman that's small breasted. So on some people we have to improvise, but the mammogram's done the same way.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So, let me ask you this: what role does diet and exercise play in breast cancer prevention?
So if you read all of the over the years, you know how you can read different articles that talk about breast cancer prevention, um, and it may talk about if you have a high, I don't know, high calorie, high fat intake, um, if how exercise is important, things of that nature. Um, but I think just overall, just taking care of your body helps to prevent us from all different types of diseases. For
Right.
some
Right.
people, breast cancer is hereditary. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get breast cancer. Like I think one of the risk factors is if you don't have children, that's a risk factor for breast cancer. If you smoke, that's a risk for breast cancer.
So
Wow, that's interesting.
not
Go ahead,
having
Vanessa.
children is a risk factor.
Mhm.
Oh
That's
wow,
interesting. It
that's
is
And
great.
very
I
I
think,
heard that.
yeah, I think that has to do with probably estrogen levels. Like I'm not a doctor, so I can't speak on that, but I think it probably does have to do with estrogen levels.
yeah, that's
What age
interesting.
should we start educating our young women about self breast exams and in preparation for them going into that age when they have to have the mammogram?
I think that as soon as you know a female starts developing breast, that they should know because they should know that if they may be taking a shower or bath and they may touch their breast and feel something, so they should just have an understanding to know if something feels different on their body. Because we've had I've never done a mammogram. We don't do mammograms on you know uh ladies that are young, like 10 and up, things like that, but there have been 10-year-olds that have came in for ultrasounds. So I think it's important that they just at a young age, whenever they start hit puberty and start developing, that they understand and learn their body.
So is that the normal procedure? Let's say a young teen, someone that age 10 or 11 or so, came in with a potential issue. Do they just get the ultrasounds versus the mammogram?
That is our facility's policy, or
Okay.
our group of rating. That's their policy. You may go somewhere else and they may do something different. But in my experience, most of the time when you're that age, the ultrasound is what's done first for them.
Okay.
Lakeisha, can you tell us what we need to do to prepare for a mammogram? Just educate the women, especially those who may have never had one and they are concerned. Just to ease
Mhm.
their mind about having a mammogram done. What can you say to them?
So, so for the most part, is not to listen to what everybody has told you because everybody's experience with a mammogram is different. Someone else may have had a mammogram and it was just a horrible experience, but don't let that stop you from having this done.
Absolutely.
Um, There's really not a whole, as far as like what, the day of your mammogram, we ask that you not wear deodorant. That does not mean that you have to go all day without deodorant. That just means when you get there, we're going to ask you to wipe it off.
I'm sorry, Lakeisha, you got to say that again because people be walking around without
You
the
don't,
deodorant.
yeah, you don't have to walk around all day. Oh,
We don't have to be
mammogram.
subject to what you doing. Just
No,
bring your stuff.
we're going to give you a wipe to wipe it off. We'll even give you some deodorant before you leave. Um, if you are a person that is sensitive, like if caffeine makes your breast sore, then you may not want to have caffeine that day. Now I've had one of the myths with the mammogram is that the caffeine affects your mammogram. It doesn't affect your mammogram. It's just for some people who caffeine may make their breast sensitive, then you may not want to have coffee that day or something. Um, Also, if you just had a cycle, your breast may be more sensitive. So you may want to wait a week or so before you have the mammogram. That way your breast won't be as sore. There are some women who just have sensitive breasts, like their breasts are just sore. We've even encouraged them, to take Tylenol. And that just helps. But
Absolutely. I like what you said about, the caffeine or whatever. Is it possible that certain things that we eat cause problems with our breasts? Are you aware of that? Do you know anything about that?
not to speak. I mean, not enough to speak on it. I mean, I've heard things just like you all have about um, eating certain foods, but for me, the most that I've ever heard is just how caffeine can affect the breast, and with that, it's just making your breast sore.
Okay.
So, when you first started, how difficult was it? If, for instance, when something isn't right, if you're looking at something that isn't right, how difficult was it for you when you first started in this field to not show that, when you're looking at things, not to show that to the patient? How
It's
difficult? How did
difficult
you
because
learn? How did you
yeah,
learn not
so
to project that?
I, yeah, so for me, because I show everything on my face, I just had to learn how to just keep a blank face or maybe smile because patients do ask us, they want to see their images. I let them look at their images. If they ask me something, I just say, I'm not allowed to say that, but this is what you're looking at is breast tissue. I'm also very mindful of what I say to patients. Like, there are some technologists that say, okay, all is good, we got everything we needed. I try not to even say that because in that patient's mind, you said, okay, everything looks good. They're thinking, oh, my mammogram was fine. But
Right.
what we're actually talking about is that we got all the pictures that we need. So, I just try to be mindful of that. And um, for me, if I do see something in a patient's breast and I just know that's probably cancer, I just say a little prayer for them, to myself.
So you said you show the patient if you want to see their images, you show them their images. Are we allowed? And well, every place is probably different. Is that correct?
Every place is different. You may go to one facility and they may not let you see your pictures. Um, but like I said, when you show, and then as a technologist, if you're not comfortable with doing that, then I wouldn't recommend you do it.
Okay.
But just showing them their pictures doesn't hurt anything because to the untrained eye, you don't know what you're looking at. And so what
Right.
I'll say is, this is your breast tissue, this is your nipple, but all this that you're looking at is your breast tissue.
Okay.
And
And
Is
if
there
it's
any?
patients are okay with that.
Is there
okay.
anything that kind of, because now, of course, everything is about early detection.
Hmm.
So, in the midst of the things that you see, for instance, the very first time, just being transparent, the very first time I had a mammogram, they said, we saw something, we want you to come back. And it scared the bejesus out of me. Okay. And I was just like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because it was my first, you know.
Hmm.
So when they brought me back, they said, we just want to make sure this is not something an issue. And actually, when I came back, it wasn't. So in early detection, do they actually see things in particular? Like you said, you may see cancer, but do you get a chance to see if it's early stage? Do you see where it's causing damage? Does any of that show in the first mammogram, and then we have to go on from there?
So when you have your first mammogram or having a mammogram period, whether it's your first one or your 10th one, the radiologist is looking at your breast the same way. They're looking for anything in your breast that looks different from normal breast tissue. So
Okay.
anytime that I have a patient come for their mammogram and it's their first one, I always tell them, do not be alarmed if you get a call back for additional pictures. It's your first one, and it's very common to be called back. They're looking at your breast for the first time. There's no other pictures to compare your breast with to say, okay, this is the normal look of her breast. Now, for someone who's had mammograms year after year, they're taking that mammogram that you just took and comparing it with your previous pictures. And when they're comparing it, they're looking for anything in the breast that looks different or that has changed. So when they see that change in your breast, that's when you get the call back.
So for you as a mammographer, you have to take pretty much the same type pictures year after year in order to compare them. Is that what you do? Do you take the exact same shots? I
Right.
guess.
So there's standard views that we do, and that's just across the board, unless you work at a facility that may ask for something else. But a standard mammogram is 4 pictures. Now, if you're having a mammogram and you see the technologist take more than 4 pictures for your screening, that does not mean that they see something, because
Okay.
that's not our job. Our job is to make sure that we have you positioned correctly, because the radiologist can only see what we take.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm positioning you and I don't position you correctly, or I don't get enough of your breast tissue here, then they can't see that. So we may have to repeat it in order to make sure that we have all of your breast image.
Oh, okay. Because you'll ask them to come back and
So
you've got to take additional pictures. Is that what you do if they
yeah,
can't
so
see it?
right. So if they come back, if you had your screening and you get a letter that says we need for you to come back in for more pictures. So at that point, we're doing different types of pictures. So whatever it is that they saw in your breast, we're going to target that area. We're going to do what's called spot compression pictures. So you may be put in a position that you've never been put in before. And a lot of patients say, oh, I've never done this view before. You haven't, because it's what's called a diagnostic view.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get called back for more pictures, you're called a diagnostic mammogram
Okay.
versus just your regular screening mammogram, if that makes sense.
It
It
does.
does. It does. Well, this has been so enlightening. And even when you said compression, I started to grit my teeth because I just think about smashing. I don't like it, Lakeisha. I just don't. I don't. I do what I have to do, but I just don't like it.
Yeah, no one likes it, but at the end of the day, the compression is important,
Yes.
because the
Yes.
compression is what's helped to smooth out everything in our breast, so we can see what needs to be seen.
Absolutely. Well, make sure, women, we get our mammograms annually, so that we can make sure that we're okay and that we're here to be able to love on our family and be with our family. So, Lakeisha, thank you so much for giving us all this information.
You.
And
Appreciate
we
it.
will definitely take this and pass it out to everybody on our website, because we want everybody to be safe. So thank you so much for being on our show. We enjoyed everybody here. We will
Yes.
see you guys back in 2 weeks, where we will bring another conversation at the Say What podcast. Ladies, we'll see you then. Take care.
Bye.
Weekend.
Get ready for Sonia, Teresa, Vanessa,